Look at how organizing art events related to June 4th, even in Hong Kong, has become increasingly difficult. But for now, we turn to the past and more purely aesthetic concerns. We're taking a look at the Art Deco style that flourished from the 1920s to the 1940s. As a movement, it was given a huge boost in Paris in 1925 by the International Exhibition of Modern Decorative and Industrial Arts.
On show at the City U Exhibition Gallery until the end of June, Art Deco, the France-China connection, showcases the history of the movement in France and its connections with China.
Art Deco is a style that really blossomed between the two world wars. The artists right before the First World War were looking for a style that was simpler. The style before it was very ornamental, very, very decorative. It was all over. And the artists, especially in France, were actively trying to find something that was a modern style. The style that emerged and was presented in 1925 and was really presented to the world was a pared down, much simpler style that had geometric forms, that could easily travel, that was applied to many different materials. And it was, from the beginning, a democratic style. Art Deco was the first global style, in that it was everywhere. Certainly, the French artists, right before the First World War and afterwards, were very much aware of Chinese influence. The French, since the 17th century, had been importing Chinese goods and porcelains and lacquer. They didn't know the secret of lacquer, for instance. In the 18th century, they would just cut out lacquer panels and then put them in an 18th century cabinet, because they didn't know how to reproduce that. So there had been a love of Chinese art all along. And with the opening up of China also, with the end of the Qing dynasty, there were many more opportunities for Chinese to travel. And so you had an international Chinese set as well. And by the 1920s, you also have the Chinese artists studying in Paris. And they're teaching the French artists how to do lacquer, about the aesthetics. The French are collecting contemporary Chinese art, or art from the Qing period. This sculpture is a real discovery for most visitors to the exhibition. And it's a wonderful case study of the exchange that occurred between France and China. So Sun Yat-sen died in 1925. He was a Francophile. He had lived abroad. He had lived in France. Right after his death, the Chinese sent a delegation with his son to go to Paris and to choose a sculptor to do a portrait of him for the mausoleum. And they chose a French sculptor called Paul Landowski to prepare for this monumental carved marble stone sculpture. Artists like Landowski would always make a small relief out of plaster, working out all the details of the sculpture before he then made larger reliefs and then made it the size of the final work. So it's one of the most visited monuments in all of China. It has some of the qualities of the Art Deco style in the very clear, formal seating, again in the simplification of the cloth, of the way the tunic goes on the feet, and in the reliefs here. They're very clear, very simple reliefs of the narratives, episodes from his life.